presented by Seat77.com. As always, Dave Dabbah is coming to you live from the Super Plus Seat 77 broadcast studio in the heart of Silicon Valley. Now, Dave Dabbah.
North America, thanks so much for tuning into the Dave Dabbah Big Show. And now for a quick rundown of the world of sports. But today, we begin with Rex Ryan, the most overrated head coach in the National Football League today. Rex Ryan, who by all standards has no business actually putting together a decent game plan. And what does he do? What does Rex do? He puts together a great game plan and beats the New England Patriots in Foxborough 16-0. I'm like, what is going on with this world? By the way, thanks, Bill Belichick. Really, seriously, thanks a lot. I'm officially out of my death pool because you, the greatest head coach in the history of the National Football League, my apologies to Bill Walsh and Chuck Noll and Tom Landry and Bud Grant, but you are, sir, the greatest head coach in the history of the National Football League. In fact, last week on this very program, we did a whole thing about how you don't game plan, you actually make adjustments. You do a strategy. You run a strategy for every series that your offense and defense is on, and that's what allows you to make adjustments during the game so you can win. And what do? What do? You lose to Rex Ryan. Rex Ryan at home, 16-0. Look, Rex is so far on the hot seat that it's no longer a hot seat. It's like a hot bed that Rex Ryan is on right now. And it's just, this was unbelievable. And it wasn't like the game was close either. The Bills had a plan. They executed their plan. They got a lead, and then they held on to it, and they beat the Patriots 16-0. Look, Rex Ryan, right? He's been coaching. He's been a head coach in the National Football League, I think, for 8 years now. Now, his first 2 years in New York with the New York Football Jets, Ryan did a fantastic job. After that, it has been a sea of mediocrity. And the only thing that has actually allowed him to keep his job, it's because he's a player's coach. You know how like the teams always go, well, he's a player's coach. And that's, the players love to play for him. Look, the players don't want to lose. There has to be some discipline there, Rex. Anyways, this game just flat out went against everything that any of us saw in the media. And it's that simple. A side note to that, Tommy Brady has been spotted in Foxborough. Look, I bet Tommy in the next 12 games throws for over 3,500 yards. And I bet you maybe they'll probably lose 2 games. They'll probably go like 10-2 the rest of the way. I can't wait for that Super Bowl trophy to actually be handed from Roger Goodell to Tom Brady. I don't want to see the owner take it. I want to see the owner and the coach step aside and make Roger Goodell hand the Super Bowl trophy to Tommy Brady. All right, North America, coming up on the Dave Dabbah Big Show, I've got more of Week 4 of your National Football League. All of that and more coming up on the Dave Dabbah Big Show.
And now, North America, it's time to get down and dirty for some hard-hitting, concussion-causing coverage of the National Football League. The sport that Dave is so passionate about that he hasn't missed a single play of a Minnesota Viking game for the past 16 years. Presented by Seat77.com. And now, back to the Dave Dabbah Big Show.
All right, North America, it is time to talk about the National Football League Week 4, as it was. We're going to kick it off with the Falcons at home against the Panthers. Look, do you think that the Panthers will ever admit that they made a huge mistake letting Josh Norman go, because they certainly could have used Josh yesterday as Julio Jones. He had over 300 yards in receiving yards yesterday as the Falcons destroyed the Panthers 48-33. The Panthers are completely and totally unraveling at this point. 1-3 are the Panthers. Cam Newton suffered a concussion in the game. Derek Anderson came out of retirement and actually did a pretty good job. You've got to give, though, Matt Ryan, who is the top of tier 2 quarterbacks, right? He's not Rodgers, and he's not Ben Roethlisberger, and he's certainly not Drew Brees, and he's not Tom Brady. He's the top person in the tier 2 quarterbacks. And Matt Ryan yesterday, are you ready for this? As he's putting together, by the way, an MVP-style year, Matt Ryan, over 500 yards passing yesterday, as the Falcons do in the Panthers. Elsewhere around your National Football League, I called an upset with the Lions beating the Bears. I was wrong. Brian Hoyer apparently is the answer in Chicago, or the Lions are just as bad as we all thought they were. Moving on to the New York Football Jets, who were at home. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, oh man, way to go, Ryan. You left off where you were last week, where you threw 6 picks last week. Do you remember that, Ryan? Well, you threw 3 more yesterday. That's a grand total. Yeah, and he's a Harvard guy, but I'm still going to do the math for you. That's a grand total of 9 picks in 2 games. Yeah, hey, Ryan, that's 4.5 picks per game, Harvard guy. Well, I don't know what they're going to do in New York, but clearly Ryan Fitzpatrick needs to be benched. They need to have that happen. Anyways, the Seahawks won 27-17. The Jaguars actually won a game in their home away from home as they beat the Colts 30-27. Look, I got to tell you, I feel a little bit bad. Not too bad, because he's the highest paid player in the National Football League, but a little bit bad for Andrew Luck right now, because that offensive line is horrific. I mean, we should have covered it on Horrific Friday last week, but that offensive line is absolutely terrible. But if you watch Andrew Luck, and if you got up early and you watched any of this game, it was just really, really bad. Andrew Luck as a quarterback has completely regressed. He looks like a rookie out there. He continues to make bad decisions. That being said, the Jags tried to lose this game. You can tell this team doesn't know how to win, even though they beat the Colts yesterday. That game was more about the Colts losing than the Jags winning. Texans won that game. Raiders went into BLT, or the BLT, and ended up. I mean, I gotta say this. This Raider team, this defense is suspect. It's going to continue to be suspect. But Derek Carr, that kid, he has really, really matured nicely as a starting quarterback. And Michael Crabtree, do you think the 49ers ever regretted letting Michael Crabtree go? 3 touchdowns yesterday. He's playing like a veteran wide receiver finally. And I think the Raiders are going to be a little bit dangerous as this season goes on. For a while, yesterday, I looked like a genius, an absolute genius. I looked like a genius through 3 quarters as the Browns were beating the Redskins, and then the other Gruden brother found a way to get the Redskins to come back and win that game. Though I was a genius on this other pick. I called it. I said that the Rams would go into Arizona and that they would beat Carson Palmer. I said this last week, and I also said that this would be Carson Palmer's last year with the Arizona Cardinals. Carson Palmer suffered, and I don't wish injuries on anybody, but he suffered a concussion yesterday, and he looks like an old man out there. Look, when a quarterback loses it, a quarterback loses it, and it happens overnight. And I'm telling you right now, Carson Palmer has lost it. He is done in the National Football League. And the sooner the Arizona Cardinals figure that out, the sooner they'll be able to attempt to salvage this season. The Saints went into San Diego, and the Chargers just flat out gave the Saints that one. Saints won 35-34. Mike McCoy just off the hook, angry during the press conference. If you have a chance to check that out, you should definitely do it. Broncos went into Tampa, where there was yet another weather delay in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos won 27-7. Look, Jameis Winston, he's showing signs. He shows flashes of brilliance, and then he shows flashes of Blaine Gabbert. And he's got to control his Blaine Gabbert flashes if the Buccaneers, that is, are going to do anything in the National Football League this year. Elsewhere around your National Football League, speaking of Blaine Gabbert, who threw one of the worst interceptions in the history of interceptions yesterday, which helped the Cowboys secure the victory 24-17. Dak Prescott still pickless. It's not going to last forever, but Dallas playing a very, very smart run control style offense with Ezekiel Elliott. His second game in a row of rushing for, get this, over 130 yards. Zeke, though, still has not had that big, 75-yard touchdown run yet that I think we're all expecting him to have at some point. That being said, not a huge Cowboy homer, but you have to give the Cowboys a lot of credit. They haven't really played a lot of really good teams so far, though I will say this, the 49er defense better at home than they are on the road, and they showed up yesterday, though the Cowboys did get the victory primarily because of Blaine Gabbert's absolutely horrific pick. 24-17 was the final in that one. And lastly today, before we get into the last game, on a side note, just a side note, over the weekend, LeBron James posted an op-ed article in which he came out in support of Hillary Clinton. So the first thing that I did when I found out about this, I immediately went to Donald Trump's Twitter account because I couldn't wait to see his tweet on this particular subject. And I'm sure, because he actually didn't put a tweet out, but I'm sure he got tackled by some staffers as Donald was sitting there just getting ready to say something he shouldn't say. So anyways, LeBron James in support of Hillary Clinton. That's on for Hillary, a good endorsement for her as she visits Ohio this week. The last game on the docket to cover, your Pittsburgh Steelers, my favorite head coach in the National Football League. I'm sorry, Mike Zimmer, but my favorite head coach in the National Football League is Mike Tomlin. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of my favorite football teams. 43-14 was the win. The Steelers obviously were happy to have Le'Veon Bell back, who rushed for 144 yards and almost a total of 180 total yards. He caught a couple passes out of the backfield. They spread him out, and before you knew it, the Steelers were up like 22-0. Seriously, they were. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Kansas City did not show up at all. This looked like a game they expected to lose, and that is exactly what happened. Pittsburgh, good to see that Mike Tomlin was able to rally the troops, but I totally expected him to do that because he is one of the best coaches in the National Football League. All right, North America, that is it for a Monday on the Dave Dabbah Big Show. We want to hear from you. info@seat77.com. Send us your emails and we will read them on the air a little later in the week. Super excited about Tuesday's big show. We've got a interview coming up with Ken Levine. Ken is the former host of Dodger Talk, as well as the former play-by-play announcer of the Mariners, Orioles, and your San Diego Padres. All of that is coming up tomorrow on the Dave Dabbah Big Show. All right, North America. Remember, we're on Facebook, Twitter, The Sound of Cloud, Spreaker, iTunes, and, of course, iHeartRadio, which we are super excited about. To the ego piece we go for the Dave Dabbah Big Show. I am Dave Dabbah, reminding you that not everyone can be a champion, especially this year, Ron Rivera. But everyone, and I do mean everyone, can act like one can. And good luck, North America.